there's kind of two pieces. There's the AI search piece, so making sure that, the content you're putting together and what's on your website even and whatever you have out there is really consistent and clear and consumable by, the LLMs. That's the piece of AI search. And then the buyers are also going out and finding their own information, whether it's through AI search or it's in more niche communities where conversations are happening. You have to be there too. So I think kind of a holistic approach where you're looking not just at showing up as the answer, but you also have to be out there where your buyers are, and you have to even understand who your buyers are to begin with.
Hi, welcome back to Tomorrow's Best Practices Today. I'm Clark Newby, as always. And today I get the opportunity to chat with Robin Bulanti. Robin is CEO and partner at Offleash PR. Offleash has been doing amazing work, particularly with technology companies, for many, many years. Some of you may know it in its previous, its birthing as Clickless Fall. Robin has been running the show there now for years, taking it to greater heights. They are a Forbes America's Best PR agency. They are an Inc. Power Partner. And while neither one of us will talk about the number of years we've been doing this, Robin has, if she hasn't seen it all, she's seen a lot. And the firm works, or the agency works with some of the biggest names in tech and some of the newest innovative startups. So she's got a lot of knowledge that she's going to be able to share with us, and a lot in particular to help us figure out this kind of black art sometimes of branding and PR. So, with that, welcome so much to the podcast, Robin.
Thanks for having me, Clark.
It's going to be a great conversation. I just want to roll right into it because so many of us on sort of the operational marketing side right now, we're hearing things that we haven't heard in a while, or we're talking about things we haven't talked about in a while, which is the importance of brand and the way that people are going to discover your product, and the way that channels are changing. We've heard more like earned media. Nobody talked about earned media for I don't know how many years. And now we're hearing it being thrown around much more. So from your perch, what do you see going on? And what is it about this rebirth of sort of the expertise that folks are looking for around PR, around brand building? And how do we find ourselves here?
It's so funny, right? PR is back in a big way, but I think it never really left the building. I mean, everyone is talking about earned media, and I think it's, especially right now, it's just AI search is kind of, it has everybody scrambling to be the answer. And I think because credibility is really so key to this, third party, trusted sources like earned media just are more important than ever. So it's not just buyers, but now it's the LLMs that are kind of coming up with the answers. And so this is the biggest question we get. But yeah, it's funny to call it a rebirth. I think it's always been around, but it's just very, very hot right now.
Yeah, and so maybe we're breaking a PR cardinal rule and burying the lead a little bit here, because I think you're right. I think that AI search, right? I think the why around a lot of this is uh, the way that AI search is changing things. But to me, it feels like, what do they say? History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes if you listen, right? And it feels like a little bit of a like the SEO era, right? Where there's an algorithm out there, and the amount of attention you get is going to be based on how you map what you're saying, what you're talking about, the language you use to those algorithms. So, what's the same and what's different between this bringing back, third party expertise, bringing back brand, as we did a few years ago for SEO versus now with AI search?
I mean, I think it is an evolution. I mean, there are some different things. We're always looking at, what are the right sources and what's really driving AI search. So it is a little bit different than SEO in that way, where, I think before it was always about driving people to your website, and now it's really about making sure the answers are out there, where the questions are being asked. And so I guess the strategy has changed a little bit, but it is still about trust and like what are the right sources and what's being cited and how can you make sure that you're out there as the answer. And so a lot of that is earned media. It's also still things like analysts and reports and making sure that you're out there in the right places so that you show up as the answer. So I'm not sure it's completely changed. I think it's an evolution, but AI it's certainly made it more interesting.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned, right, it used to be like driving website traffic. Drive them to the site. Even post all the coverage there, post all the collateral there, get them onto the site because that's where we can capture some information from you, capture maybe probably an email address or something, and we start nurturing you, et cetera, et cetera. And now we're seeing the rise more and more of kind of this clickless clickless demand. I mean, people coming to you ready to buy, they've already done their homework and they may never have been on your site because the information, the point of view, and to your point, more importantly, the trust and the referral have already all been accomplished off site, right? And so I think that you see that in the same ways for SEO organic search, you need to be talking about the right things the right way on your site to raise that, but to raise your rankings or to get into the AI search results. But what really carries the weight are third parties, analysts, what is being said about you and what buyers are hearing from them. So how do you see, I mean, so does this change? The buyer community is as important. I guess the supply and the demand are both equal, right? So where are buyers do you see going these days, or to hear those, to access that information? What do they trust? What do they not? Do you have any kind of rules of thumb?
Yeah, I mean yeah, this is what we're looking at, and I think it can change. There's kind of two pieces. There's the AI search piece, so making sure that the content you're putting together and what's on your website even and whatever you have out there is really consistent and clear and consumable by the LLMs. That's the piece of AI search. And then the buyers are also going out and finding their own information, whether it's through AI search or it's in more niche communities where conversations are happening. You have to be there too. So there's I think kind of a holistic approach where you're looking not just at showing up as the answer, but you also have to be out there where your buyers are, and you have to even understand who your buyers are to begin with to know where they are. But that's like a piece of the work we have to do as brands, right? Is to really understand, like, you're not going to be everything to all people. So who is your buyer? Where are they hanging out? How can you make sure you're there when these conversations are happening? And it's always been the case, I think, that buyers do trust their peers, but they also now are trusting, they're looking for the trusted information out there. So it's kind of twofold. It's the AI search piece, and it's also making sure you're in those communities, those conversations, whether that's in Reddit or social media platforms, or there's a lot of different places they could be, but making sure that you're kind of everywhere all at once in the right way is important too, to that piece.
And so how different is that for for the agency's engagement with clients compared to maybe traditional capital E earned media where we know the reporters and we'll work with you on that an angle. We'll hijack a trend. There's a big issue coming out in September around this, right? Things are much more fluid. They're much more um, steady state, I guess, now in a world of 100 Reddit posts a day, et cetera. How does your engagement with those channels differ? I mean, what's state of the art there these days?
I mean, I think agencies have really had to evolve to keep up with this too. So, the number one thing that companies still come to us for is the earned media piece. It is those relationships. It's getting into like the top tier business press, broadcast, all of that. But I think we've also had to evolve with our strengths and our services and make sure that we know how to participate in those communities, how to help our partners participate in those communities. understand the conversations that are happening, listening for them. I mean, I think it's very exciting too. It's always, you know, I think a lot of change in the industry can scare people off, but I think it's very exciting. Things are happening really fast, and a lot, agencies have to really innovate to keep up. And so having an integrated strategy that goes beyond earned media is really, really important because it all has to work together. I think you have to really understand the different channels and how to, participate in them and how to best put your brand forward. And it kind of all starts with like having a really clear understanding again of like who you're trying to reach and where they are, but then we have to come in with an integrated approach to all of those different channels. So it does change what you do. It's not, it goes so far beyond earned media that it, like I said, it's very exciting. But I think even startups, whether you're a startup or you're a big company, anything in between, I mean, you have to be thinking about all of these different channels and levers you can be pulling.
Because of AI and the way they can leverage it. There used to be kind of a stage of a company where, well, we need a couple of people that have seen the movie before. We need, the board wants somebody in here that knows how to do this kind of deal or has built one of these before. And the AI generation is a little bit more like, give me smart people and we'll figure it out. And so I just wondered if you're seeing that same thing and how your clients present to you any differently in terms of, they're at, what they want to get accomplished, how they want to do it, what they have on hand to do it, compared to maybe some of the more traditional, I guess I'll say, thinking of, well, it's time to get PR. PR agency often gets pulled in because you've hired, say, a CMO that's worked with them before, and so they kind of have a playbook. These folks seem a little bit more allergic to playbooks. So, how is that different than for your conversations and how folks come to you and how you engage with them?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I do think sometimes today's very new startups are structured differently, and a lot of times, and maybe this isn't that different, but marketing can be an afterthought. So they're coming to us maybe, and it's, we just need to kind of check this box, but maybe they don't have any marketing experience on the team, and that's okay. I mean, we're used to working with startups, I think, where we work directly with the founders, right? And so a lot of times it was us coming in with the playbook. But I do think that has changed a little bit where we are talking with companies even when they're not very early and they may not have done those foundational things. Like they haven't figured out, we were talking about the buyer, who the buyer is. We're going to be everything to everyone. Or they don't really think about how to position the product again to like the buyer's needs. And so we're doing a lot, not that we haven't before, but we are doing a lot of education. So it's not just about, checking this box. It's not just about sort of rounding out your capabilities on the team, but really what an agency can bring to the mix. I mean, you're extending your team really when you bring on a partner. You get all of this expertise on the team. I mean, that's one of the things that we really are bringing in. We have been doing this a long time. We are very up to speed on the new strategies you need to be thinking about. So a lot of that upfront work, I feel like, it's education. And then it's really getting into, what's the ultimate goal? Like, don't just come in because you want to check a box, but what are you really trying to do as a business? And then, PR can sort of integrate into that. It's a piece of the toolbox, and it's a very strategic piece. So I think there is a lot of education that we're doing and a lot of foundational work, honestly, just to make sure the story is really good before we go out there and tell it.
Like when have you have, I guess, prospective clients contacting you and they want to evaluate you or they want to talk to you or it's time for this to happen, right? What do you, I'm sure you've gotten very good at kind of seeing the red flags and understanding when somebody, maybe this is time, maybe this isn't time, maybe we're a fit, maybe we're not a fit, et cetera, et cetera. So for those of us sitting inside, what are the things that we should make sure we've thought through and have straight before we start engaging in a selection, say, of a PR or comms agency? What are your either the red flags you see that like, oh, they haven't done that, or sort of the checklist that we should make sure we have ticked before we go wasting uh, time talking to agencies when we really haven't figured out yet what we want to get done.
I do think if you go to anyone, right, any partner who just says yes all the time, it's not a good thing. So part of it is really digging in with a company on, are they ready and what are they ready for? And we're really good at saying no if it's not a fit. I mean, I think it's important to help find companies what they need when they need it. And we're, not going to be for everyone at maybe every stage either. So I think a couple things before you like go full in on bringing on a PR partner or any partner really. Knowing, I mean, we talked about this, knowing your buyer, knowing exactly what you're building and who you're building it for, I think is really important. We can help with that. So a lot of times we are coming in and helping with that foundational work. I always ask up front who are your competitors, because a lot of companies will be building a category is great. We've done that many times. We've helped create categories for many companies over the years, but you really can't be a category of one. You have to be somewhere in the universe, and helping a company understand where they are is important. So that's a big red flag for me when I'm talking with a founder or CEO and they say we don't have any competition. I mean, you have some competition. It might be, DIY, it might be something else, but I think it's important to understand that can be really challenging. It's the first thing a reporter's going to ask. So our job is to also come in and ask those questions. I think also, if you're, again, with the idea of checking a box, if you're coming to the realization that you need PR because your board is pushing you to do that, that's not always the best thing. I think if you don't have that kind of buy-in from the top, really the CEO, it really is about the CEO, like being engaged, understanding the value. It can be very difficult to be successful in that situation. I think right now too, even just the whole conversation around AI search and discovery, and where and how do I show up, and maybe okay, now it's time to get a PR agency. I mean, I think it's really important to take a step back and understand why and what an agency or a partner is going to really do for you, because so that's again a little piece of the education that needs to happen.
Yeah, you may come to or may come to a conclusion. A conclusion may come to you, be delivered to you about it's time to get into this PR scene for reasons that don't have that much to do with what you guys can help them with. Reasons that like, I don't know, everybody's, AI search is happening and this is why we need to do it. Or, I was all my other portfolio companies have done this and it's been successful for them. Um, which could deposit folks on your doorstep who maybe haven't done the homework, but also really aren't. It's a very participant thing, right? It's not a typical sort of outsourcing or partnership, right? Because I think it sometimes surprises people. I think intellectually they know this, but like once we set you off, we have to start showing up with a story to, the story to be told. We have to tell the story. You know, the journalist or analyst isn't going to want to talk to you about us. We have to, and not everybody is kind of prepared for that, being forward facing about things, having a take, particularly if they kind of have this psychology of like, well, we can kind of help everybody. They don't want to have a take that alienates anybody, right? They don't want to have an edge that makes something worth writing about, which is kind of the only thing that the journalist worries about. And so there's a yin and yang there, right? That sometimes people don't realize that they're going to have to solve for uh, until you guys are really like. Sometimes I've seen it even when you've really gone out and done the hard work to get opportunities in front of a company. And they're like, yeah, but that's not really the thing that we thought you were going to do. It's like, well, this is specifically what you hired us to do, right? So I just think thinking all that through and the ramifications and being ready, because they're not going to be able to be the right partner to you. The client isn't going to be able to give you what you need to get them what they want.
Right. I mean, that's true. It is a partnership. So that's really important to keep in mind too. It's not, it will take time. I mean, it's going to take time from whoever is going to be the voice of the company or voices of the company, hopefully. And you're so right. I mean, we are very involved in the story piece and building the story because it really does. You have to think about what does someone want to read, not what is something I want to tell the world. So we're very involved in the storytelling piece, but also getting the spokespeople, usually it's more than one, on the same page and telling the right story. And you know, that's a big part of our job too. And it's not about, you know, changing who they are, but it's about making sure they feel confident and ready to get out there and talk about it. And it is kind of important to have a little bit of an edge and to have a point of view, because if you're just out there saying what everyone else is saying, it just does not cut through the noise.
That's not going to accomplish anything, right? And it's actually probably going to set you backwards because you're going to be like, geez, we have all these like we've had all these conversations and nobody's like nothing's come out the other end. It's like, well, because you're not differentiated enough, or frankly, maybe impactful enough in your message to have it make its way all the way through the spanking machine to come out the end with an article or a review or et cetera, et cetera. Um, so this kind of like the larger, I guess the larger framework of this is kind of like when is it time? When's a good time? Or how do you know it's kind of time to look for an external partner versus maybe get a freelancer? Or where do you see, I get, maybe is there kind of an evolutionary picture you have of people going from founders with an idea to maybe working with freelancers or folks to using an agency like you, and how folks can kind of like, do you have kind of evolutionary stages that you think about, or is that off base? Or
No, I mean, this is part of like when you're getting to know a company and asking those questions, that's what you're trying to get at. Are they ready? How much work have they done internally? What do we need to come in and do? What are the resources that they have or maybe don't have? And we don't do everything, obviously. So, again, with that eye towards outsourcing, sometimes with our very early startups, we're helping them bring in those different external partners to do different pieces of the mix that maybe we don't do, right? Like website development or design, things like that. So, I think there are a lot of questions we ask to figure out where the company is, and we're pretty honest if we think it's too early. So if it could be from a budget standpoint, it could be from a readiness standpoint, it could be there are some other bigger issues they need to work out first. It isn't always that they need to have the product perfect or the spokespeople, anything like that. We can help with that. Some of it is thought leadership, right? So a lot of the early work you might be doing in the industry could be thought leadership. But yeah, sometimes for companies, they'll do really well with a freelancer. Maybe they don't need a full service agency, and we'll be honest about that. So there's not a perfect, you know, diagram for when exactly you're ready for an agency, but by asking those kind of thoughtful questions and do they even have spokespeople? Sometimes that's an issue. If there's not an internal spokesperson, are we going to have to develop an external spokesperson? I mean, these are very simple things. Do they?
central, right? And that's super pragmatic, right? I mean, that's I'm glad that you're kind of adding that to the list, because we're kind of talking about like figure it out and have a take and know your customer and have a strategy. But at the end of the day, if everybody's like, emailing, sending you this document and won't talk to anybody about it, won't participate in this, won't, whether it's with press, whether it's with roundtables, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, from the CEO on down, how do you I guess, do you find that that's a major hang up, and how do you kind of navigate that with folks? How do you get them comfortable doing these things? Because it's kind of a different thing, dealing with the press, dealing with analysts is kind of maybe along that continuum, but it's a very different skill set. It's a very different comfort zone, particularly with earlier stage of founders. I mean, if you're working with a major corporation, they got a fleet of people that want to do this and they're rolling out a new product, that's one thing. But in this kind of founder space that we're talking, that's got to be some magic around how you talk to somebody who's obviously very confident in their abilities, but maybe not in the abilities that you're going to be asking of them. How do you engage?
Yeah. Well, a lot of times we are working more directly with the marketing team. So we always need to be talking with the I mean, we need to know this. We need to know these people. We need to know what their point of view is, how they think, how they're going to present. That's part of the early work that we do, and it is about figuring out what kind of work needs to be done to get them ready. And it usually is the founders in a smaller company, obviously. And so we're typically sitting down with the founders, and we do a lot of, media training and making sure that the story is really tight. It's all tied together. So a lot of workshops where we're working through the narratives and then making sure our spokesperson is comfortable with that story and listening to how they tell it and doing it over and over to make sure that they're ready. And then we always want to make sure that people feel over prepared when they're going into any kind of media situation. I mean, broadcast is a whole different beast than podcasts or, a print interview or written article, anything like that. So we want to make sure that someone feels prepared and confident and they're going to be successful, because usually the story is in there and you don't want to try to feed a story that isn't, authentic, because I think the authenticity is really important, but kind of bringing out the best in people. But there is a lot of prep that goes into that. And not every founder wants to do it. A lot of times there may be more than one founder and it's about figuring out who's going to be the voice of the company. Not everyone wants to do it and not everyone is great at it either. And that's okay.
Yeah, there's the supply, right, of what you can bring to the pitch, the conversation, all of that, and then there's the demand of the publications. I guess we still call them publications, the outlets of the outlets. And so, you mentioned, oh, the board says it's time for PR. I think something the board often says in this area is like, I mean, imagine us on the cover of blankety blank or on the homepage of like like do you see that kind of dream publication misconception still, or how do you assess that when somebody comes to you with that? Are they, are they understanding the challenge or not? And in this landscape, is that even a thing anymore?
Yeah, this landscape is, I mean, it's it's right. It's shrinking too. I mean, the media landscape is changing. It's shrinking. There's new media popping up all the time. We're working a lot with Substacks and podcasts and different things. So there's an education piece of that too. But the dream publication idea, it's still out there. And a lot of the conversations we have are where, a company might just say, we want to get in this one publication and that's it. And to me, communications, I mean, it's an ongoing thing. It's not one and done. And even getting, on the cover of the Wall Street Journal is not going to change everything overnight. So we do hear that, and a lot of times it is the Wall Street Journal or, New York Times or something. And so having a dream publication is not a bad thing. Understanding the story that goes into actually getting that is what we do. And you have to have certain things to land something like that. But there definitely is that dream publication, I don't know, myth or whatever you want to call it. But those can be red flags too. So if you just want that, but you don't understand why you want that, I think that's a piece of education that we need to do. And there's maybe a little bit of a lack of understanding there, but there are ways. I think we always come in and put together kind of it is like a dream publication list. It's the ones that are going to really move the needle for you, for whatever the company is. It might be the Wall Street Journal, might be something totally different. And then we have to reverse engineer your story to actually land at. And it is doable. So, I mean, I don't want to say it's wrong to have a dream publication. I think it's something, even like if we're working with a company, we want to get one of their customer stories out there. We ask that customer too, what's your dream publication, or where do you really want to be to, tell your story? And then we have to reverse engineer it from there. But I just, I can't emphasize enough that you really need to, every single channel, every single, publication, they all need different things, and you really have to understand what that is and tell the story that's going to work with those, like their audiences, not just the story you want to tell. So there's a lot of work that goes into that. But
Okay, so let's put a button on it for our audience, Robin. Coming to us as an established PR pro, what we're best practices here, right? We're the best practices podcast. So what are the best practices you'd say for working with partners like you, and how we get the flywheel going with a great PR agency?
okay, I think we talked about have your buyer understanding really dialed in, so know who your buyer is. Get the CEO buy-in, I think, before engaging with a PR partner. I think that's really important. Be ready to participate, not just delegate. So at the very top, CEO participation, and understanding that it's really about building trust. So you need consistent, authentic storytelling. The story is at the heart of everything.
Trust. Yeah, how many times did we say trust during
I
this
know.
conversation, right?
It's
That's
a big
that's the
theme this
bottom
year
line.
for me. Yep.
And maybe the inverse of trust is these days is AI. I don't know, but because it's such a presenting reason to come to be thinking about brand and PR these days. But AI search, and you can help a potential client understand how they're doing at this, right?
Yes. So
You have an audit, I think, right, that you guys
we
can do.
do. Yeah.
So
It's
even
a
if we
free.
don't know how we're doing, that could be the conversation starter too, right?
Absolutely. So yes, we have developed an free. It's free, an AI search audit. So it shows you your AI search visibility. Actually, gives you a score, gives you some best practices, benchmarks you against the competition. So that is a free tool that you can find on our website. It's very timely, and we're getting a lot of interest in that. We even used it on our own business, so it can be very insightful. So yes, we do have
That's
that tool
awesome.
available.
So go to the Offleash PR website to check that out. Finally, Robin, thank you for spending time with us today and talking with it. The lead tail ethos is all about building community. Those of us in the marketing realm and those that we work with. So at the end of the day, it really is about all of us as individuals trying to figure out this stuff together. And so we like to talk a little bit at the end of each episode just about something that's kind of personally important, or something a tip that you'd share for the time when we're not in the office virtually or otherwise worrying about all these things. Um, and so I just would I just open the gates for you to chat about perhaps how a cause that's important to you guys, or kind of work that you guys are doing in that space.
Yeah, I'd love to. So we have our philanthropy arm is called Off Leash Cares. It's something I'm very passionate about. So we have a team that's really dedicated to giving back to causes we care about, whether they're causes our team cares about, different things that are happening out in the world, obviously. So we are very committed to giving back a portion of our equity to those causes. And a lot of them deal with diversity, equity, inclusion. Obviously, we're women founded and women led companies, so a lot of them are, specifically to women or children.
Fantastic, fantastic. Everybody, this has been Robin Bulanti. She's amazing. Off Leash PR has done incredible things, and they have resources even on the website for you to help figure out kind of where you are in the stance. Figure out where you are in AI search. Go to offleashpr.com. So is it offleashpr.com, right? I just want to make sure because sometimes it's communications, etc. But there's so many tools and insights there in their newsletter to help you figure out as AI search is bringing comms, brand, all earned media, all of this back into the spotlight. It's a great place to get educated, a great team to talk to about what your next steps forward might be. So thank you, Robin, so much for your time and your insight today.
Thank you, Clark. It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thanks everybody for joining us. Take care.